Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Vodkast and Friends Do Dungeons and Dragons. I'm your host as always, DMJ. Now today we are going to tackle the very first episode of Making Friends with Monsters. No, Making Monsters with Friends. It doesn't matter. Whichever way you guys like it, let me know in the comments below. But right now I'm leaning towards Making Friends with Monsters. Now tonight we are going to create a monster, and I believe genuinely it is one of the coolest and most interesting creatures for use in the Dungeons and Dragons tabletop role-playing game, or, you know, VTT, however you play. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to judge you. Either way, I invite you to sit back and enjoy the next hour of your life as you watch three old men create a really, really cool monster for D&D. But for now, I hope you guys really enjoy this episode. I know I did. So let's just roll the intro. Tonight, we're going to talk about making a monster, and I'm sure you creative folks have plenty of ideas. So the only thing we got to remember to do is, of course, come up with a name and, of course, all the stats. I was just talking to Jim about how in my brain, I was just like, oh, we're just going to make a monster. But I didn't realize, we need to come up with all of this information so that if we want to use the said monster, we know its strength, its speed, its armor class, and all its attacks and stuff. So I don't know where you want to begin. Does anybody got any ideas?
I guess we're going to think of the challenge range. The range goes, from 0 to 30?
Jeez.
How badass do we want it?
Why don't we go somewhere in the middle, somewhere between like 10 and 20 somewhere, maybe 15?
15?
Yeah.
All right. 15? That's in the range of like an adult dragon.
Is it really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe we want to dial it back a little bit. Maybe that's a little too powerful. Because when we get up to that point, we're going to have to think of all its its actions plus its legendary actions and stuff like that. So we could do 10.
So I wonder where legendary actions come in. I think it should have one.
You think so? All right.
It might be cool.
I don't mind doing it 15. I'd like to have it something that I could use in a game, that I'm running.
I want to see if a 10, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to see if a 10 has one.
Yeah, we should compare it because I didn't realize that an adult dragon was a 15. I would have thought that would have been higher.
Okay, yeah, a 10. 10 does get a legendary action.
Okay.
Well, I'm looking at one in particular. It's got 135 hit points. Is that kind of too low?
It feels a little low, especially if you're throwing it at a party of like 5 or 6 characters. You got, Well, maybe we should look at it like this. Let's look at it as your party, the Athalia game. You guys are all level 12 or 13?
Well, 12.
12. Okay. Another thing that comes up, is it one creature? Is it like if you encounter it, you're not going to encounter like more than one, adult red dragon at a time, most likely. Or is it going to be like a pack creature that you could encounter 5 or 6 of them at a time? Or is this something you will encounter one at a time?
Well, I think with that, we ought to kind of see where it goes.
Okay.
Because we may want to dial it back and maybe a pack creature, or we may want to give some really heavy stats, and maybe a single creature may have minions.
Oh, that's true. Or what if we did something like where it's like a pair or a partner, like they mate for life, or they are partners for life, so you always have 2 of them. That's kind of an interesting idea.
Well, I think, Arnie, didn't you have an idea of something that you wanted to create? I know we talked about it 2 months ago.
I did have a couple of ideas I was messing with. They weren't like that high on the challenge rating, I don't think, but you could always adjust things, I guess.
Well, okay, I'm looking at the monsters and beyond. What kind of hit points do you think we wanted to have? Because I can look at the range and we can kind of start from there and see what his challenge range would be at that point.
So a lot of the things that I'm shooting at you guys nowadays are creatures that are in the monster manual. However, I usually end up kicking up. Like, for example, if you guys are fighting vampire spawn, they regenerate 10 hit points a round. Oftentimes, I forget that. So what I do is get rid of that altogether, and I'll say, well, maybe the combat lasts 6 rounds. I just give them an extra, 60 hit points or 50 hit points, somewhere around there. So normally a lot of the creatures you guys are fighting now are definitely at least 150 hit points, usually more to like 2 to 225. Just because, you know, we've got a party of 7 and you guys piss through things that aren't going to have enough hit points or a high enough armor class.
Yeah.
That is a challenge. We kind of tear through beasties.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we have a range between 150 to 225, that's a challenge range of, I'm seeing 10 to 17. Could go with lucky 13.
Yeah.
I love 13.
Okay, so let's call it a challenge rating 13 then. Unless, Artie, you want to go... I know you had talked about creating some kind of insectoid creature, correct?
Yeah, I was talking about a kind of like a species that, you know, like it would be like a bloodsucker kind of creature. I had only just started thinking of it. I didn't really do too much.
Oh, okay. So it could be part of like almost like a colony of ants or something, or a swarm of wasps.
Sounds like mosquito.
Like an invasive kind of, yeah.
Mosquito would be kind of... Imagine a pumped up D&D mosquito. Where could you take that? Like, obviously you've got a beak attack or a, you know, a whatever you call that.
I guess it'd be a stinger.
Stinger, is that proboscis?
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's write down stinger for now. Maybe it'll
Only
end up
other
with...
bloodsucker I can think of is a tick.
Imagine if it was a small, like a tiny creature that like it's so small it's almost unnoticeable, but it's still something with 150 hit points. Imagine countering a creature. Like,
I would totally hate that.
Yeah.
If you threw that at us, I'd hate it.
It gets on you. It's crawling on you. Nobody can do anything because it's on you. Like, it really hinders the player's ability to attack it, because if you attack it, you're going to be attacking the player it's attached to as well. I don't like that idea, though. I think it should be something size-wise, at least, you know, medium to large.
Yeah.
Gargantuan? I don't know.
So you want to create something to combat the current party?
Kind of, yeah. Not that I would necessarily throw it at you guys, but I think if we... Like, think of your players and like what would be a real challenge for your players. Like, not necessarily in the idea of challenge rating, but in the idea of like making it difficult to combat against. Like, you've got, you know, Wolf, who's got, you know, his solar lightsaber thing there that does all that damage. Like, what if this creature is immune to that type of damage? So what would pose a challenge to your party right now? Like at a CR, you know, 13.
Well, I thought you mentioned something about a praying mantis also.
Yeah, that was like, I was thinking of like the male. It was like a, you know, like the standard drone type would be like a grub kind of creature. Big, but, you know, about the size of like a goblin's head. So like a loaf of bread, maybe.
Okay, I thought you were talking like a 6-foot one or something.
Yeah, well, the males or the
females are the ones that are kick ass. They're the ones that eat their males' heads off after mating.
Oh yeah, with the mantis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like drow.
Actually, they eat. Yeah.
Drow, the females are the ones that really rule everything.
So which way do we want to go? The mosquito? Did you want a flying creature like that? I mean, do we want it to be big? And that would be a swarm type of creature. Maybe if they're the size of dogs.
Yeah, or even a horse, a mantis-sized horse. Giant mandibles that can, you know, you got your bite attack there. Perhaps it's got poison as well. Maybe it has a chance to even sever a limb or something like that. It's got such sharp, large mandibles that, you know, if it grabs onto you, there's a, you know, you got to roll a constitution check or a strength check or whatever. And if you fail, you know, you lose a limb to it or something, because that's something, you know, we don't really encounter much. There's no, I mean, earlier editions, I used to use the whole fumble rule as an opportunity for something like that to happen, but there's nothing like that in the game right now.
Okay, well, when I was talking swarms, I was talking about, because we're on different creatures. I was thinking of the mosquito, but actually, I think praying mantis, they're more of a solitary bug.
Well, why don't we merge those two and make like some kind of mantis mosquito in a way where, you know, it's got a stinger instead of mandibles or something like that.
And actually, the Manatis, when they jet their arms out, they're really quick. Their arms are quick to grab insects. There's some that even can grab birds and skinks.
Wow.
I guess they might be small birds, but so if you get grappled, they're going to try to bite your head off.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I
Bite your head off, man.
Which would be an instant kill, but don't get grappled.
Okay, so mantis mosquito. Maybe naming this thing would give us a
maybe if it
little
was a mantis instead of it, because that's, when I already mentioned the praying mantis before, I was thinking, man, that would be a hell of a creature if it was like 5-6 foot and it grabbed you and just bit your head off.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was a mix between a mosquito, instead of it biting your head off, it would just have the stinger that
this could be deadly.
Sucking your blood.
Is a deadly idea. It's pinchers of magic, so it could like snip. If it grabs your sword or something, it could break it potentially, even if it's magic. Or is that too unfair?
I would say if it rolls a 20, I mean, like I was just saying, like you get those opposite ends of the spectrum, a 1 or a 20. But like I would think if this creature does roll a critical, it has the ability to destroy magical items. Maybe it is innately magical. This creature feeds off of magic. Maybe it goes after like the most powerful weapon in the party and knows that if it can consume that, it grows in power itself.
Or
That's interesting.
Yes, it absorbs it. I was thinking of that with the sun sword there, the lightsaber. If you had a creature that ate light and it would like charge up attacks if you attacked it with radiant weapons.
But would that thoroughly piss off some players?
It
You
could.
got a favorite weapon and then it gets destroyed.
It can be, it's on the line. It can be annoying if creatures have weaknesses and defenses. I kind of like it, but I get where it can be kind of tiresome, but I like having a challenge where you have to figure it out.
And it does give the DM the power then with a creature like this to take out an item that's doing so much damage, especially like you guys are in a keep with all vampires. He's got what's the name of the sword?
Dawnbringer or something.
I can't remember.
It's like
Ashbiter is what he called it. Oh, Lightbringer is the mace, I think, that Mara has.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the sword, I can't remember the name of it, but it is nice because right now he's going to be tearing through the vampires at this keep because he has the power to do so.
True.
Imagine if these vampires had, captured 5 or 6 of these creatures in the means of being like, we need you to go after anything. I mean, are they intelligent? Can you communicate with these things, or are they just animalistic?
Something of that size. If they came from a different dimension or something, they could have a whole hierarchy, society.
A society, yeah. I think they should be somewhat intelligent. What about average intelligence is what? They start at 10 and get better up from there. So
that would even be cool to add that they're intelligent enough that they unlocks like magical. They can be magicians or psionicists and stuff.
Oh yeah, they could actually have a class of their own. I love the idea of feeding off of magic, though. I think this creature should seek out magical items and want to consume them. I dig that a lot. I like that.
So that would make it probably more intelligent.
Yeah, definitely.
Like a brass dragon is a 14.
Maybe like a 12? A little above average?
What would a drow wizard be for a combat rating?
Let me look it up.
Or what about a mind flayer? Say a mind flayer, for example. What's that combat rating?
That's got to be pretty high. I think illithids are pretty high.
Illithid, yeah.
Actually, it is Mind Flayer. Okay. They've got it listed. So their intelligence is a 19.
Well, maybe I'll think of the background of this creature.
Okay. I liked Artie's idea of them coming from either another dimension, or even if they came from the core of the planet, like they have their own world down there. They don't normally interact with the outside world. They burrow deep down and let man deal with man's wars and stuff like that. But when necessary when their magic runs low and they need to feed off of it, they come to the surface, and just like drow raiding parties do from time to time.
So now are we getting to a point where is this going to be more of a creature that is very insect-like, or is it more humanoid with a lot of insect aspects or characteristics?
I really like the idea of a giant mantis.
I do too.
They could have their own language, maybe a little difference, maybe even clothing and stuff like they've developed.
But
overall, they just look like a big mantis.
Yeah.
So we're going to go, I guess, more the mantis instead of the mosquito.
I think so. Yeah. I like that.
The mantis is pretty kick-ass. I mean,
it's a cool looking bug too.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to put 14 for intelligence right now as a baseline. They have their own, society, whether they come from, we haven't decided yet, but whether they're subterranean or from another dimension. Perhaps they're from another dimension and now they dwell here, but have the ability to travel back and forth. Obviously, I'm referring to Athalia at this point, just using that world as like, these exist in that world.
That's fine.
Yeah. Subterranean planar creatures of a 14 intellect that feed off of magic. We're making progress here. I'm loving this thing. And I can see like a helmet that a mantis would wear where it would kind of come down over their forehead, but leave those big eyes open. You know what I mean? So you can still see through it.
Well, they've evolved and they have like a armor plating like that.
Yeah. Either way.
But they do have they possibly have evolved enough that they have clothing and stuff.
Okay, well let's go through the list of the stat sheet. So what kind of armor class?
I mean, if it was up to me, I'd say like 30 because you guys just get everything.
Obviously, we'd know this, but you could have like a secret weakness, like normal weapons do extra damage against them.
Instead of magic.
You know what? Yeah, because if it absorbs magic, a magic weapon may not be the thing you want to use, which would be a total twist.
Whether or not people think of it. Or maybe if they can suck all the properties off of your magic weapon, and it comes back after a while.
Oh, I like that.
But
I love that.
Yeah, maybe instead of like totally breaking the weapon, that could be an awesome thing. But as if you have magic weapons, it's gonna maybe every time you hit it, it draws from it, and next thing you know, your magic weapon is now just a normal weapon. The player may think they're now screwed after that, but maybe after several days or something, it starts regenerating his power back. Or after you kill it, it gets its magic back, but it's going to be weak until it totally regenerates.
Like a disadvantage or something.
Yeah.
I do think though, if you don't pick up on that as you're hitting the creature and you're not realizing that your weapon is growing weaker and weaker, I think it should have the ability after X amount of rounds of hitting this creature to finally just kill the magic within it. It's drawn all the magic out. But it gives the player the opportunity, like, you notice that your swings aren't quite doing the damage you're expecting to, and this creature seems to be absorbing the blows, and describe it in such a way that you're not telling the player, but at the same time, you're kind of hinting around to the fact that your weapon is losing its magic.
Well, just like the flame blade. Maybe the flame gets weaker and weaker.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that your flame is dimming.
It diminishes, yeah.
With something like that radiant blade, you'd see it right away. Like maybe he nails the first creature and the light that's coming off it dims like dramatically.
Yeah.
Or when it hits the creature, maybe you see the light absorb into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and his like eyes glow or something, and he like grins, like delicious sigh of like.
And you notice that the creature doesn't really try to avoid your attacks.
This might be getting too far in the weeds, but they could absorb the magic properties and then use them out of their claws.
It's kind of like a rogue from X-Men, where like she touches another mutant and absorbs their power. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like the absorb magic spell.
Yeah, it's very similar.
So I would say one of these special, like not an action or a legendary action, but abilities would be, or a trait would be to absorb magic.
And it's obviously immune to magic. Does that include magic spells?
Mm.
Or is it just magical weapons? Something about the magic properties of a weapon?
I'd say something that has to be imbued, because then it makes the wizard almost completely useless at that point if he's using offensive spells. Or maybe
maybe. I like that. Some about imbued weapons.
Yeah, it could be. It's immune to magic weapons, but resistant to magic spells. That way, a wizard can't just nuke it.
Or maybe they just have resistance, so they get advantage on their saving throws for spells.
Yeah. Resistance would give them half damage.
Maybe they have resistance to all magic and a chance to completely nullify it. Like if they roll 20, for example, they just absorb like a lightning bolt or something.
As a reaction.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Is it all schools of magic, or is it just specific schools of magic? Like if it the radiant blade that he has there, like it could be specific to radiant damage or absorb radiant damage, but it still takes damage from
probably cold. Aren't most insects, don't they usually don't do well in the cold?
So what does that refer to as when it's not a resistance, a disadvantage? What is the term for that? I'll try to look at a few monsters, see if I can pick it up. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's like on the tip of my tongue.
Like a deficiency? No.
That would make sense, a deficiency, but that's not it either.
Yeah. Na, 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 na.
Make sure you edit this so that we come up with the answer instantly.
4 hours later.
It's not vulnerability. It's
Vulnerability. I think that is it.
Is it?
Yeah, vulnerability. Yeah.
So what are these creatures vulnerable to magically?
I would think cold.
Cold.
Yeah. I think they evolved in
How about bludgeoning?
Oh, yeah. With their armor. Yeah. Well, and actually, maybe bludgeoning is okay but slashing and stuff would be nearly slash and pierce. Maybe not
I'm
so
just
much.
trying to think of the different kind of magic effects.
So you got cold, you got fire, or you've got radiant, you've got
Thunder.
I think they could absorb or deflect thunder and lightning, and
maybe all elemental magic they are immune to.
Let's say, doesn't chromatic orb have all of them?
well, I like the idea of them being weak to cold.
Okay, you got acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, and thunder.
So they're vulnerable to cold. I would say that like these creatures, if they're subterranean specifically, or if they at least wherever they came from is a place where cold is not a factor in their lives. So when they encounter, a cone of cold or something like that, they're completely unprepared for it.
Exactly. Whereas fire, they might be used to lava or whatever the core temperature.
Yeah. Well, I think anything with energy, fire, lightning, thunder, that's more energy.
Yeah, I like that. I got that.
And then you have,
I'm with it.
would it be vulnerable to acid? Or maybe it takes normal damage with acid and poison.
Yeah.
I like poison weakness. Yeah, you can, as long as you get through the shell.
So fire, lightning, and thunder are the ones you don't want to use. And then acid, cold, and poison would be the ones. But should any of those three cause just normal damage? But maybe one of them will cause additional?
I like the idea of the cold, I think. I think Artie's onto something there.
Yeah.
Because it automatically, when I hear that and I think about that, I think about these creatures in their society building these structures with whatever resources they have below ground. I'm seeing a very hot and humid, muggy climate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And maybe cold also gives them a reduced speed around.
Yeah.
So much for writing the sheet out. I had done name, size, alignment, AC. Now I'm just wherever I can fucking fit it.
Never tried to be organized.
You can fill that in after.
Yeah.
So do they actually completely look like mantises, or is it just the head and arms? Is there some kind of, I feel like this is your department, Artie. I'd like to see I'll sketch something out, but I feel like you're the one that's going to come up with the look of this creature.
Yeah. What's your brain thinking right now?
toying with like an evolved mantis. Like, what would a mantis evolve into? Still bear the characteristics of a mantis, but be like
okay. Now one thing is I think it should kind of still look like the mantis in a way that it resembles a stick. The armor would even need to be somewhat camouflage looking, because that's their big thing, is to be stealthy and to blend in and then just attack unnoticed.
I was just thinking now, like their exoskeleton can have like crystalline kind of barnacles and stuff that are growing on it, which would kind of help with deflecting and absorbing the energy. They're a part of the creature.
I think there are many different. There's, I think, thousands of different species of them. Some have a smooth kind of green look, while some have a really.
I do like the idea. I almost see them covered. When you said the crystalline, like I could see almost like not big spikes of crystals, but like their bodies granular and graded and almost got these facets to it, where it's just kind of like it could lie down in the dirt or like a pile of stones, and you'd never see it if you walked by it, because it's just covered in these, like, almost looks like a pile of rock as their outer exoskeleton in a way. Real rough looking. And when they come to life, maybe their under half is super colorful, and they
much like a mantis.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, now that brings up another point. What kind of terrain is this natural environment?
Well, when Jay was saying that, I was imagining that they would hide up in, like, what's the top? Stalactites? Stalagmites? Which one's the ceiling one?
Stalactites.
Let's look that up.
T is
They'd be up among them, and it would just look like crystals up there, or rocky rock when they stop dropping.
So this is a cave dwelling. It's a cave dwelling mantis.
I think so. Yeah, some kind of, or I think deeper. I think it's beyond, like, if Shadowvale is deep under the ground, they're that much deeper under Shadowvale. Like, so if you had to travel to get to the Drow, or in my case, the Shelven Elves, you have to travel nearly 2 weeks below the surface to get to this area. You still have to go another 2 weeks to get to, like, where they are. They're so deep, but they do come into these subterranean caverns where they would encounter people to be able to feed off of magic, and with travelers traveling through and so on and so forth.
Sometimes they make their way upward to a certain point.
Yeah. And I think that's where their weakness of cold comes from, because they come from closer to the core of a planet that's hotter, and that's why they're weaker when they get exposed to cold.
Right. Or there's magma to keep them warm.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think they're immune. I don't think they're immune to magma or lava or fire, but they definitely have a high resistance.
Yeah. I think they probably travel within those, hundreds of miles. Like, they probably have to come to closer to the surface to encounter creatures to feed off of these magical imbued items. And then after they've sucked up enough of the energy, they can, almost hibernate for another, like, 6 months or so, where they stay lower in their ground. So there's probably, like, pods or broods of these things where, like, they go dormant, like a cicada, where they go underground, like, for 17 years or 8 years, and then they come up, when they need to reabsorb and re-energize themselves. And that's when you encounter them mostly. But it wouldn't be completely uncommon to have one brood out while another brood is down. And so you're always have an opportunity to run into them. You just don't know what brood you're up against. And you could take that further and say each brood comes from different areas and has different things. But I think that's getting a little technical at this point. We just want to get the baseline creature first. What if these creatures aren't evil? What if they have no intentions of ever harming a person? They're just drawn to the magic. That's like we eat food and we kill creatures to consume meat or whatever. These creatures don't care about the creature wielding the weapon. They just care about the energy that comes from this thing. It's almost like a magnet to them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like that's just their culture, they're not malicious towards the people with the magic item. They just see it as like a sustenance, like you were saying. Yeah. I did not use a reference for a mantis, but I have a little here.
Oh, okay. I dig that. Yeah, it's a nice like hybrid mantis human or like humanoid type thing.
Ooh.
I'm drawing a blank right now with the mantis head. But
They got the big bulbous round eyes. They've got almost like not a heart-shaped head, but like or kind of like
It's a triangle shape.
Yeah, like a triangle-shaped head. They got the mandibles at their jaw, and they've just got those big eyes.
Yeah, I love that idea because if we go more with the trait of a mantis, they're cannibalistic, so they don't stay in swarms because they will literally eat each other. So if this is more of a hybrid type and it feeds on magic, this particular mantis isn't going to be cannibalistic because they eat magic. Does that include magic users? They'll eat wizards.
Yes.
maybe they can like sense it. They can like smell it and stuff like magic, and they're like drawn. They can hunt it like you would track animal stuff.
That could be cool because if you've got like a fighter or barbarian or somebody in the party that's not magical, I mean, could they like just walk into a nest of these things and they'll just kind of like ignore it?
Maybe just disregard them. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I don't think, but I don't know if wizard more sorcerer they would go after because that's inside, whereas
Oh,
wizard
true,
has
because
to
wizard,
learn.
yeah, good point. Yeah.
you don't think they could like taste it?
Well, I
Like
think a wizard would
emanating out of
still
them.
reek of magic, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's now that we've got this idea, let's fill in their basic statistics: strength, intelligence, wisdom, all that. Just so intelligence, I'd say 14 makes sense so far. They're probably pretty strong, maybe not as strong as they are intelligent. I imagine they're very dexterous. We assume that they're winged. All right, so they've been underground. So do they fly, or have they kind of set aside that and now they kind of like spider climb everything? Like,
Good point. Well, I mean, if their
Maybe
dwelling is like a huge cavernous cave,
that's true. Yeah, I dig that look you got going there, though. That looks scary. Like I almost prefer that over.
it's not much different. I mean, because they do have those little mandibles that kind of come out from their chin like that.
Predator teeth.
You need some antennas.
Maybe they shed them for these crystal.
Yeah, that's that. Like maybe their antennas
yes.
have kind of evolved to that. Okay, so maybe that's how they can detect the magic is through their antennae.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cut their antennae off, what effect does it have on them? It pretty much would neuter them, would kill them. Like, because if they don't know where to find food source, they would just eventually die.
Maybe have a blinding effect, or it definitely enrage them.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
send them into a panic.
Yeah, because I was kind of reading up on them earlier today. I think I saw somewhere that they actually have their nose is just below their stomach, and they do have very keen eyesight. So maybe they're like dwarves and can see, or drow and can see like 120 feet in the dark. Dark vision.
120-foot dark vision makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What if they don't fly so much as they kind of like, almost like chickens, where they can kind of hover to where they need to go?
Mm-hmm. I don't think they're very long distance flyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they have a society within the caverns deep below ground, they just need to get from like, one house to a market or however they live, I mean, they don't have to go very far. So they've got like stunted wings. Maybe they're a little bit shorter and stuff, like, just enough to keep them airborne as long as they need to be, but they couldn't like take off and fly through the skies.
One of their actions could be frightened, because one thing mantis do is they'll raise up their arms and spread their wings out to make themselves look bigger to frighten any kind of potential attacker.
Kind of like what's the monster, the dinosaur from Jurassic?
Oh, yeah, the lost, what is the ones that spit?
Yeah, exactly.
The Spitosaurus. That's it.
Yeah,
the Spitosaurus.
Oh, do they have a spit attack?
I wonder, like, what do mantis do for, like, where do they live? What do they make for, like, a pods, or like where do they nest? Do they nest?
Don't know if they nest, but they live in. Yeah, you'll find them in bushes and garden type areas, wooded areas. Where there's foliage, because that's how they hunt. They blend in with the plants in their environment. Definitely very, very stealthy, so they're gonna have advantage on stealth.
Oh yeah, with these guys, like when they're hiding up in the ceilings, you wouldn't even know they were there unless they moved.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, total surprise drop. I don't know how this guy would put a shirt on, but
I don't know if they actually move that fast, but I do know that their arms jet out fast when they can lunge fast, really fast to get their prey. So grapple is a big attack.
Okay, so what if they get grappled and then you get bit? Should they have some kind of paralyzing poison or something? No?
I don't know, because their bite is hellacious.
Yeah, it's just, it's like almost like scissors where it's just kind of...
their bite is going to really do some major damage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they're able to, bite into a magical item and absorb its energy, that's got to be a powerful jaw. So their dexterity and their strength has to be pretty high, I would think.
Now, I guess their attack, it's definitely going to be their claws. I guess you would call them claws. So would it be they can attack you with their claws, and when they attack, they're going to do damage with their claws, but if you fail a strength check, then you're also grappled?
Grappled, yep.
And then once you're grappled, their only attack would be a bite.
So claws will grapple, and then their bite will be the big whopper of the attack. Yeah.
So I would think, their attack is the claws. And then on your next round, next round, then it can bite. If we give their claws a decent damage, we don't want to overdo the damage by taking claw damage and then a bite. Unless you think it should do both. I don't know.
I like the idea of him. They try to grab you, and then when they get you, then they'll bite you. Like they get 2 grapples. I don't know if they'll go for the bite unless they have you.
Yeah, because first they have to grapple you, and that makes the claw attack. Part of that attack is also a grapple, so it's like 2 in 1.
So they'll only use their bite attack if they have successfully grappled someone.
Yeah, which is what Manatis do. They don't just go up and start eating something. They first grapple it.
Now, okay, so let's run through a combat scenario. Let's say Wolf is attacking one of these, and he doesn't get grappled, or no, let's say he does get grappled. Is it going to bite for him or his weapon? It's going to go for the weapon, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was considering. If they grab you, are they going for the magic stuff?
Yeah.
Or are they going to try to kill?
I mean, if you're putting up a fight, I think they're going to kill you so they can get to your magic item. But like, if they've got you grappled and they've got a good shot at the weapon, then that's really what they're there for, is to absorb that energy to rejuvenate themselves. Maybe these things are immortal as long as they're able to continue to consume magic. It prolongs their life.
Yeah, and that also takes care of the problem of a mantis is going to want to eat your head off, and once that happens, you're dead. Your character's dead.
Done. Yep.
So this way, it doesn't care about you, your head, or anything. It's just going to grapple you and try to just gnaw at your weapon. And that will also, it can cause you damage with the sheer fact that it's grappled you and is crushing you. And that can be like an ongoing damage until you get out of its grasp. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's kind of cool. I like that.
I like that too. It's like you say you're holding a magic sword. It's all like you're preferring the weapon to them,
And that would really confuse the player.
They're like thousands of years old, and they've evolved way past communicating with these lesser beings that seem like amoeba to them. But this thing is holding a glowing, tasty, shiny.
I think you gave me a good idea, Marty. Instead of the frightened, because I've never been a fan of frightened. I don't know something about it. I don't know. Since it does have this internal magic, when it spreads its arms up and its wings out, you have to roll a Constitution saving throw or something. And instead of being frightened, you're mesmerized. because when it's all that magic built up inside, it makes his body start doing swirls of light or something.
Yeah, it starts to vibrate and waves of color and light start to pour off of it.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah,
of
you
like
see this magical effect.
dizzying. Is dizzying still in effect in this edition?
I don't know.
Or like a prismatic.
Yeah, it's like you're stunned for a round.
Yeah.
Stunned.
If you fail, it just
Bedazzled.
yeah, you're bedazzled.
Your jeans have glittery.
So would it be a round or until you roll a save on it, I guess?
Yeah, I like that. They could rear back on their legs and extend their wings or whatever. And you see their abdomen. That's where the shininess is. It looks like oil. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a mantis's abdomen. It's pretty wild.
They absorb this magic to survive. They absorb this magic to prolong their lives. But in the worst case scenario, they've got this, stunning kind of mesmerizing attack where they can exude that magic. What if that is actually a spell, or should I say spell? Like it's an innate ability to them, but it's almost like a spell that kind of like sees you. It draws your attention almost like, like a ooh, squirrel type deal.
It would be because it's got that magic inside it. So it's casting a spell, but like you said, it's innate.
I almost think that would be almost a last resort because they're trying to hold on to as much as this magic. They're always trying to consume magic. Mm-hmm. Last resort, they have to expend their energy. Their life
that could be
force.
one of his legendary actions.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
And it's the whole party that has to roll.
Yeah.
Whether
anyone inside of it, right?
Front of, and it doesn't even have to be in front of it, just in its aura. And what will confuse players is if they all get stunned, instead of it going out to try to kill them all, it's going to just start munching on their magical equipment.
Yeah, while they're distracted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that could really confuse the hell out of the players because they're not actually attacking them. Mm-hmm. It's attacking their weapons or their magic items.
I don't know of any other creature, anything like this.
No, I don't either.
So I'm thinking, like, say it mesmerizes you with the sparkle, right? Like it sparkles you, and then it just walks up to you, and you're like, "Oh no, I'm stunned. Now I'm fucked." And then it just snatches like your items, grabs your sword or whatever.
Yeah, or your shield or your boots or whatever's magical.
Yeah, whatever's tastiest smelling to it.
And it would probably take off after that because it knows that you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, I want nothing to do with you. I'm just taking the energy and I'm going. It's all very humanistic in a way where like we take what we can from animals and just it's sad, but one of those cases.
Although you meat eaters, you do kill the animal too.
Yeah, it would be like that where you've met this new kind of thing that you don't know what their capabilities are, so it might make them more evolved.
Okay, so like, what does their personal relationships look like? Are they humanoid in the sense that they can, or I shouldn't say humanoid, they're not insectoid, but are they human in nature that they have form bonds, or are they just survival? Is it just all about survival for them? Because it gives you a little bit of sympathy for them when you realize that they're not just, killing creatures. They're just trying to survive. That's all they're really trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you finally have encountered these creatures and you know about them, you could carry around weaker magical items and kind of use them as a distraction to get through an area or something. Be like, just throw your +1 dagger over there, and they all just swarm to it.
True. Yeah.
And you go through. Yeah.
And how many would realistically be together? I mean, do you want to be more like accurate as far as that they're not a swarming type of creature? They're do you want like they would be more of a loner, or maybe maybe in small groups. Maybe they may like you'd never see more than 2, 3, or 4 together, or
they could just be like us, where like it's independent. When I walk down the street, I'm not part of every person's life around me, but we all live in a world together. Yeah. Kind of that type of deal.
Yeah, because they would be different since they're not going to be cannibalistic because they only go for magic.
Yeah, do they care about the species to continue, or is it individual survival? How does their society look? Let's see.
Do they communicate? I mean, like if you speak Celestial, would you understand it, or no deep speech?
Possibly. When you mentioned that, I was thinking they communicate with sound, like they ring their crystals,
Mm-hmm.
something, and
But
it's
would they
almost
have
like incomprehensible to, unless you use, maybe if you use like a detect language.
some kind of spell to communicate? But would they have adapted some common language, like abyssal or whatever, or deep speech? Would they have adapted something like that as their version of common language?
I would say that, like, I like Artie's idea of like they rub their crystals together to communicate amongst themselves, but I do feel like they've already got an intelligence of 14, so they're smart enough that they could have learned a language because they've encountered. Let's say there's a party going through that doesn't have a single magic light on, but they're like, what are these people doing here? They might send out a representative if there's, I don't know, like it's hard because we haven't really determined if like there's a brood of them. They don't swarm, but perhaps there's 50 to 100 per colony. They send one out to be like, hey, what are you doing here? They've got to be able to communicate. What if it's telepathic?
I like the telepathy idea. And if you're a psionicist, for example, you totally could communicate with them.
Yeah, you could almost create a quest out of this where it may eat all your weapons and the party realizes it's not trying to kill you, but maybe there are some magic items they possess that they can't consume. That if you're willing to go do a quest for them to grab more magic items for their consumption, they'll give you these other magic items.
Yeah.
Kind of to replace what they just destroyed.
I almost feel like a necromantically charged item they would reject in a way because it's negative energy or like some kind of dark energy.
Yeah, like cursed weapons and stuff they might not be interested in.
Or magic weapons that produce acid, cold, and poison.
How about if they, this would be like a secret thing, like they could maybe remove curses from weapons and stuff. They might want to do it for the purposes of consuming the magic that is aside from the curse. But if they're intelligent, you could possibly barter with them.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
Like a frost brand weapon, they would shy away from. But I can't remember. Let me just look up Wolf. I can't remember the name of that weapon.
Radiant.
Radiant. Yeah. So anything radiant they're drawn to, but something that produces a cold effect they would not want to consume.
What would be kind of cool is, instead of kind of trying to barter with you, if your party sees some weapons kind of laying around, those could be like a cold weapon that could help destroy them. If you can make your way to it, and use that against it instead of your weapon.
They could have a dumping area, like a waste pile.
Yeah.
So what alignment are they?
I would think just neutral. I mean, because they're not
true neutral.
Yeah.
In size, we're gonna go with large.
Man sized?
So
larger, maybe?
I'd say large. They're probably a little bit bigger, I would think. Not much.
Because humans are medium, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So how much bigger would large be? Like a
Minotaur, giant, Goliath.
Okay. Goliath, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we got the size, we've got alignment, we've got their intelligence. Their hit points, 150 to 225. We got to figure out their speed. What is their speed? How fast can these things move?
I was watching some videos. They don't seem extremely fast. I would just say 30. Like any other creature.
Well, their regular movement's 30. Do they have a flying speed? Would that be the same, you think?
I would think so. Yeah.
Okay.
But a short distance.
Short distance.
Yeah, like a flying leap.
And I wouldn't think of them as being an endurance runner. So like if you ran from them, I think they may dash at you one round and then kind of go away. I can't see the praying mantis being something that would chase down something.
Terrain might be a factor too, like on rock, on earth, they're very fast. Or they're familiar with, but if you can alter the terrain. Yeah,
in their own territory, they'd probably be a little bit slicker, be able to scurry up those stalactites or around a stalagmite. But on flat ground, they probably only move about as fast as a human, and probably about fly for a short distance, about the same speed. So,
and like Jim was saying, they'd conserve energy. They wouldn't necessarily chase after you. Unless you were in range and they knew they could get a strike.
Yeah, because mantis hunt by blending in. It's camouflage.
Yeah, there are. Was that a surprise hunter or opportunity hunting?
Yeah.
Like a cat. A cat does the same thing.
Yeah, they do surprise attacks. Yeah.
All right, what's their strength?
I think they'd be pretty strong.
I do too.
Really strong. Yeah.
At least, what do you think? At least an 18 and plus 4?
I'd say 18 works. You could go, well, I mean, look at our party. Look at everybody's got a 20, 21, or like Wolf probably has what's his strength,
29 or something.
It's probably a 20, yeah.
Remember when 20 was the max and that was it?
Yeah,
you were like lucky if you had 20.
Now everybody starts with a 20.
Yeah, you start with 20 now.
In Jay's campaigns.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, usually.
All right, yeah. So Wolf is a 20. So let's give him a strength of 20.
Oh, max them out.
Dexterity, they're probably more dexterous than or less dexterous than they are strong because they,
Yeah.
Well,
opportunity.
I mean, their arms, when they go to grapple, it's fast. It's going to be a fast attack.
But maybe not their movement so much. Like they can strike really fast, but
Once you come up to them, man, they're going to just dart out their arms and get you. Now, that's another thing. Yeah, they got long arms. What's their reach? 5 feet or 10? Because they are large.
I'd say 10.
they're 10. Yeah, I go with 10.
So dexterity 15, 16?
16.
I think at least 16.
Now we got to weaken him up a little bit somewhere. We got Constitution, Wisdom, and Charisma.
I think 20 is too strong though for strength.
Maybe.
I mean, like what's the save throw going to be to get out of the grapple? Because if you got someone that's got a 20 strength, I mean that's almost impossible to get out of it.
Let's give him an 18. That'll be a +4 instead of a +5 for that.
Yeah.
Constitution, maybe that's where they're really weak. They're not the strongest, especially because magic isn't super abundant to them. Maybe that's like a 10.
Or they're they're dependent or so driven about magic items and the taste of it or whatever, the energy they draw from it, that they'll forego safety and stuff. Like they have like a weakness about
like an
it.
addiction.
Yeah, like they're addicted, behave irrationally about it.
So would that mean they'd have a lower wisdom? Is it just
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
You said their intelligence was high, right? 14.
Yep, or that's what we got.
maybe
So
wisdom
far.
of 12?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 12 sounds good. So Constitution and Charisma is all we got left for their stats.
I think having a lower con is okay.
I feel like they like a 10.
Okay.
And Charisma.
I don't know where that would.
I think that should be a negative number.
Like they don't the communication is so foreign to anyone but them, I guess, or whoever knows how to communicate with them. Probably really low.
Maybe like a 6.
Which one?
Just
Charisma?
depend.
Charisma, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a person could still be charismatic even if they're unable to speak your language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is like a smart lion versus a human.
Yeah. Yeah, to each other they might be very charismatic, but to the average adventurer that's never seen this creature before, they're probably very uncharismatic. Even if they're trying to be as charismatic as possible, it would be perceived as very uncharismatic, most likely.
Yeah, I'm almost rethinking the wisdom though.
Okay.
Because that would be you would think they would have to have a pretty high perception to be aware that somebody's coming.
Should they be wiser than they are intelligent?
I would think so.
So maybe put the 14 in wisdom or even 16 in wisdom and like a 12 in intelligence?
Yeah.
Yeah, because 12 is still above average. They're still on average, just like humans. You know what I mean? If I had to sum up the entire human race, I'd say a 12 is probably a decent score, like reasonable.
Well, isn't a D&D like 0, kind of like what the average person would be? Your average Joe.
In the case of at least 5.2.5, whatever this edition is, I'd say 10 is probably your average. Because if you have a 1, then you're a dunce. You can't even communicate, I believe. So 10 is probably your baseline. Like, just take me, for example. My intelligence is probably, at least a 20 versus, your average Joe.
I agree with you.
Well, thank
You're
you.
a 20.
Thank you. You get inspiration.
I was hoping that would.
All right, what else do we got? We got to name these things. We haven't even begun to.
I know.
Oh.
I feel like we've got a good grasp on everything. Obviously, their abilities, we can figure out what else they can do. We know that their legendary action is their magic thing, but maybe they have some other abilities we'll get into. But I think we should definitely name it because we've got the basics down for just about everything at this point. We can establish their initiative now that we've got their dexterity. Armor class, we need to figure out a name. I'd say that's the big hurdles we get after.
Yeah, let's get that next. Yeah.
They're covered in these crystalline type stones that hide, in stalagmites. You hit the back of this creature. I almost feel like their underbelly is probably their weakness, but
They probably heavily protect that area.
right. So Wolf has an armor class of 25. He's got a dexterity of 15, so that means only +2 of that is coming from that. So what level? It's really hard to compare it when you think about the creature. But let's take like a bullet. A bullet is probably similar. The back of them.
There's thunder rolling in overhead.
We get 22. Okay, we said his dexterity is 4. Okay, so its dexterity is 4, so that would be a natural armor of 14 plus whatever AC we want to give his armor. What did we give his? What was the dexterity on it? 16 or 18?
16, yeah. So
I wonder if we're going to go with 18 because when they jet those arms out to grab something, they're fast.
It might be deceptive, like in their normal movements. You might not, initially at least, you'd be surprised by their movement. Their lunge, at least.
So a bullet I'm looking at right now has a natural armor class of 17. They don't get anything from dexterity. They have an 11, so they get a +0. So they're getting it from, it's basically you're making it up their armor at this point. We could say, their armor is comparable to, full plate armor. We're giving them an 18, so that's 14 to begin with. I would say at least a +4 because of their outer shell. And we don't know that they can't. So are they never going to wear? They have clothes, but do they wear armor as well? Or is their shell enough to protect them?
I'd say their shell is what their protective casing is, and maybe they have like little jewelry or accoutrements like that.
The one you're drawing, are they going to have like a natural armor, kind of looks like plate that naturally grows from them? Or
Yeah.
That makes sense. So a bullet is challenge rating of 5 with an armor class of 17. This is a challenge rating of 13. I'm not afraid to throw in a 20 there, a 21.
for armor class?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking 20, maybe 22. Because you said Wolf he's got a what?
25.
20.
And no
25.
dexterity bonus. Where the fuck is he getting that from? Yeah, I think 22 is good.
When you throw creatures at us, what are their AC?
Let's look at a vampire spawn for now. A vampire spawn has a natural armor class of 15. They have a dexterity of 16, so that's a +3. I shouldn't be telling you all this. Although you can just look it right up anyway. It doesn't matter.
You could just generalize. If you're going to throw something heavy at us, that's when you send out multiple. If you're going to send out a solitary creature after us, what kind of AC would you typically give it?
Yep.
Yeah. Or let's say, let's go back to how many of these would you think we would have that you would want to put, in a situation for the party to fight? 1, 2, 4? How many?
Definitely not 1. I would say 3 to, based on the party size right now, I'd say 3 to 8, just due to the fact that there's 7 players. But look at an adult red dragon. Their armor class is 19. And their hit points are 256. See, if I threw an adult dragon at you, that armor class would go up to about 26, and their hit points would go up to about 512 right out the gate. Because I know the amount of people you have, the amount of damage you can do per round. They need the opportunity to get out their big attacks to make it a challenge for you guys. So,
yeah, but I guess you got to look at this creature like if somebody's going to put it in a game and it's a party of 4. We don't want to overstat this thing to where it's going to kill a small party if you put 2 or 3 of them out there.
So maybe a 20 instead of a 22 or 19? What do you think?
I guess it all depends on how many. I mean, if we made it a solitary creature, like a dragon would typically be, then you'd want to hire AC. If you're going to put 2 or 3 of these things out there, then it's going to have to be something they can defeat, or else they're going to all lose all their magic equipment.
True. Ashbiter is going to make an attack here. I just want to see what he rolls. Yeah, first roll is a 26. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's roll it again. Let's see.
Yeah, but that's one player. What about Riven? Or
that is because Wolf is the extreme because he is paladin. Okay, so Riven is going to attack with Flame Tongue Rapier, and I'm just doing a random roll, but right there, boom, 21. So he's hitting it. And he's got another attack. Here it comes. Let's see what it is. I mean, you could roll a 1, but you still have a plus 27. You know what I mean? Like, boom.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't think 22 is completely crazy, but I think 20 is more reasonable.
Because I think this would be a creature you would probably fight later on upper in levels.
Yeah.
So we may want to do up to 24.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would put more than 2 of them out there.
These are a very unique creature that we're creating too, because like you said, they're not going after you; they're going after the magic items that are on your possession. So this combat is going to look different than most combat scenarios.
And it's not like magic items are very common, so I don't think you would find a big swarm because they don't starve to death.
That's true.
They're living off of magic.
Yeah, their numbers are probably smaller than an average human town. A human town might have 300 to 500 people, not even, maybe like 300 people. Their average, community might be 40 or something like that. It may not be that there's a lot of them there. So you could technically go in and wipe out all of them if you were strong enough. All right. We still need a name.
I do.
Praying mantis. Is there something we could play off of those words?
Or the scientific name for a mantis.
Ooh, what is that? Yeah.
Or etheromantis.
Etheromancer? I like that. I like the spring of that.
I was thinking of kind of other magical kind of terms.
Ooh, the scientific term for praying mantis is mantidea.
That name alone is a great name.
What if we just add a D at the end? Mantided.
Okay, well, it'd have to be something, maybe a name that kind of reflects either, the fact it's a cave dweller or it's magic, consumes magic, something that deals with energy or
something of that, like underdark cave dweller kind of.
Yeah.
Like drow kind of culture-y.
We could name it after an action, like it's a grappler, or if it like not grappler, but you know what I mean, like play off of that, or a magic consumer, something. Because I think that at the core, that's really what they are. They're magic consumers. They consume magic.
Yeah.
Considering we made them into like these like cultured, potentially, they have the ability to be like a species almost. But I guess you should do that with any creature, right?
You said something like Manticene?
Mana fiend. Yeah, that doesn't really go with their items. Like how they fiend for that.
Manticene. It's crazy that this is the hardest part of it. We've like just banged out all this other ideas left and right, and we can't name the goddamn thing. Forget it. I'm out. Mantamanasorb. Mantamanasaur kind of gives it a dinosaur type feel.
Big and like intimidating.
Or we could play off the fact that they have this crystalline type plated back. Like, is it like a Christamana?
I know someone who's very well versed with crystal culture. I'll ask her and see if she has an idea.
Maybe I ought to go ask Karen too.
Manatis?
Manatis.
Like Manatis? Like the mana?
Yeah, with like a play on the word, kind of the spelling. I dig that.
Or we could throw it out there to all of you who are watching at home right now. If you've got a better name than we've come up with, let us know in the comments below.
Thanks in advance. I'm sure you got all this footage you can keep cutting to.
Yeah, yep.
When I'm actually focused on it. Try to do one of him like rising up to do his dazzle attack. I don't know if can you see that?
Yeah, that looks
Rearing
great.
back up.
It's perfect because like you'd run into that and you'd be terrified of it, not even realizing that it doesn't care about you. It just wants your weapons or your ring or your armor or something.
It can totally like snip your hand off or most of your fingers just trying to get your ring.
Yep.
And then it'll munch it down and just hop into the air and do a flying leap away. Just kind of run away, take off. That would be bad for a magic user. You're like maimed and you lost your ring.
My hand's
Why is this so damn hard?
I said Manatis, so it's like mana and mantis, Manatis.
Oh, I like that. Manatis.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. We'll put that on top of the list.
Okay, Manatis.
Did you hear that, Jim? We're talking about, like, say you have a ring. It'll just snip the fingers off your hand or snip your whole hand off. Just snip your hand off and take it.
Yeah. Man, some people are going to lose some limbs on this one.
I told you it was going to be interesting, and I hope you had a few laughs along the way as well. I had to whittle that thing down from 2.5 hours. So, with that being said, next Wednesday, there will be a second part to this. It's not going to be as clean and polished as this one. However, it will be edited down so you guys can take a look at some more details about the Manatis. Do you like the name? Do you not like the name? You got a better suggestion? Put it in the comments below. But as always, don't forget to make somebody smile today and make yourself a better person tomorrow than you were today, tomorrow. Let's make the world spin a little bit happier and a little bit nerdier together. Let's sing and dance in the sun and in the rain as one, my brothers and sisters. Live life to the fullest and love every moment of it, because you just never know when that last moment's going to come for you. However, never live in fear of that moment. Always live in love, but never let your inner child die. Oh, yeah. Take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and take care of those around you who cannot take care of themselves, for they are the ones that need it the most. And if no one has told you today that they love you, the Vodkast loves you very much, just the way you are. All right, guys, do no harm. I'm Jason Oliveira. This is the Vodkast, and I'll catch you guys a little bit further on down the road. Take care, my friends, and happy adventuring.
Don't go to sleep with a catch it in your pocket.